We return on Southeast Texas Weekly. Let's turn our attention to the Donald Trump, who is still polling incredibly well in the key early primary and caucus states. Do you see anything derailing the Trump Express at this point?
Well, I think the reason that people are following Donald Trump is his position on immigration. They're focused strictly on immigration and his position on, look, we have a country. We either have boundaries and we have a country or we don't. And a lot of people are going, well, that makes sense. They hadn't really focused on other issues that he may or may not talk about at this point in time. But more and more people, including the Hispanics, the blacks who are not working, think, hey, we need to have a border. We need to have a border, and we need to enforce it so that we can take care of Americans.
We need to have our immigrant population, too, because they contribute to this country.
We let in more than 1 million
I stood at the
immigrants
foot
a
of
year,
the
don't we?
Statue of Liberty, you know. Bring me your poor, your downtrodden masses.
Well, did
means.
you realize that coming through Ellis Island, there were 12 million people. 12 million people went through it.
Yes.
Okay, you get in line, you get in. There's no such thing.
I don't have a problem with using a
Right.
good system like that.
But we are ignoring the system we
well,
have.
no, we don't have a system. That's the problem.
We have a system. We're
No.
just ignoring
It's
it.
called "Don't Come In Illegally." And,
Help me here, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, when are we going to seal the borders off, if that's what
That's
you're
it.
talking about?
Hey, tell me somebody that doesn't.
Define it for me.
Do you
How do
think
you
Define what it is. It's
Do
at
you know
its lowest
why?
level
You know
since
why
the
people
70s.
don't immigrate to Japan? Because it's surrounded by water. You'd have to swim there.
So,
And
when will the borders be secure?
Well, when we have a border,
It doesn't-
We,
it doesn't
we do have a
enforce the
border. It's an international border, and it's been there since the
Right.
beginning of time,
But-
1863,
But
Gaston.
what we've allowed to happen is a misreading of the 14th Amendment, because that really, the 14th Amendment had to do with granting citizenship to the slaves that were freed by Abraham Lincoln.
But the court has
But it
held
had
over the
nothing.
years.
No, the court
has
hasn't held it. It's
held
not
over
in
the
the
years.
Constitution.
The
Read it.
14th Amendment is part of the Constitution.
It absolutely is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not in there that it gives citizenship to illegal citizens
doesn't say
coming over
anybody
here and
illegal.
having a baby.
Those born and naturalized within the United States and its jurisdiction.
It is
and
not-
people within this
it's
country
not-
are
it's-
subject to the jurisdiction.
It's
Do you
not
believe
in the
that there-
14th Amendment.
Do you
What
believe
it's-
that there would that a retesting of this matter of birthright citizenship? Do you believe that if it were tested again in court, that it would be upheld?
The 14th Amendment is going to be upheld, and we're going to
Upheld,
issue
I guess in other words, what I'm trying to say quite imperfectly is that American society would continue to be allowed to, legally speaking, to make a child that had like literally just came in
Anchor
to the
baby.
country as in their mother's womb, to be born 15 minutes after arriving in the U.S. and be a U.S.
That's
citizen.
not in the Constitution.
Yes, and that's what we've done in this
Well,
country for the past 100 years.
and that's
Well,
a legal
no, we
question.
haven't.
What does it
We
mean?
have.
Actual
No.
law?
Yes,
we
we
have
do.
in the 20s, the 30s,
No,
the
no.
40s, people that crossed the Rio Grande and gave birth to their children
The-
were American
no,
citizens,
the
and they have
14th
been.
Amendment has to do with legal immigrants. It says
It doesn't
absent-
matter.
Let
It
me
doesn't
finish.
say anything about legal or
Oh,
illegal.
it does.
No,
Where does it say legal or
It
illegal? I
says-
missed that.
And here's why. Here's why it says that. The 14th Amendment was to allow
It's got 1 minute.
the individuals who were freed by the Civil War to be declared citizens. Native Americans were not citizens. Let me finish. It was not Native Americans. They didn't even get their rights till 1924. And it had to do with legal immigrants who had children here. It specifically said diplomats who have children here from another country are not citizens. So if they're diplomats and they have kids
They
here
have the right.
and they're not citizens and they're here as a diplomat, somebody
for a
just
good
crossing the
conversation.
border
They do
doesn't have that.
have the right to dual citizenship, but my original question was, what is sealing the border?
20
Is anybody
seconds.
ever going to be able to answer that question?
I've got to leave it at that.
Yeah.
You
It's a
folks
pretty
Google
interesting
the 14th
conversation.
Amendment and read it.
No Googling out there. No.
Google the 14th
Okay, go
Amendment.
ahead.
Read it.
Google
When you
away.
do, feel free to call Godfrey and
Feel
say,
free.
Here's what it says.
Google away and then come back and see us in 2 weeks on Southeast Texas Weekly.
Southeast Texas Weekly, brought to you by the Modern Vein Surgery Institute at Privity Clinic for Surgical Care.